Today is the 30th anniversary of the release of the 1993 classic film Menace to Society, directed by Alan and Albert Hughes and starring Tyron Turner, Lorenz Tate, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Vontae Sweet. Welcome back to the Voiceovers Podcast. I'm 24K Logan, and today I'm going to be reviewing Menace to Society. So I want to start off by saying that Menace to Society is one of my all-time favorite films, but I also believe that it's one of the saddest films as well. And the reason why I say that is because I truly believe that deep down inside, Kane Lawson was a great guy, had a great heart, but he was doomed from the start with his upbringing, the things that he went through, the family members that he lost, and just overall what he witnessed throughout his young life. And when he was ready to make a change in his life and finally do something great, do something positive, he was cut short. Let's take it all the way back to the beginning when Kane, a young Kane, witnesses his father kill a man in their living room. Now, I'm sure that any child, no matter where you come from or no matter who you are, any child would be traumatized if they witnessed a murder. And then on top of that, his mother was already sprung out on drugs and his father was a drug dealer. Both of his parents died when he was young. His mother had an overdose and his father was killed in a drug deal gone wrong, and eventually he was taken in and raised by his grandparents. We see Kane go through trials and tribulations living in Watts, Los Angeles. We see him lose a family member. We see him get revenge for the loss of that family member. We see him and his friends go through police brutality. And we even see him trying to make changes throughout his life, but he constantly gets pulled back into the lifestyle of a street hustler, the lifestyle of how some people might live in Watts, Los Angeles. And ultimately, his environment and some of his decisions is what led to his untimely demise. But I also believe that Kane was doomed from the start, not just because of his parents, but also because of the things that happened around him. As I mentioned, his cousin Harold being killed in an armed robbery. We also see the scene where him and Sharif are harassed and beaten down by the police officers. So Kane really had it rough. Now, he did make some bad decisions in terms of getting Eilena pregnant and not wanting to be there for the baby. Then, of course, jumping her cousin. And that is the ultimate reason of why he died. But everything that transpired prior to that is what led to his demise way before he even met Eilena. He was already on the path of destruction, hanging around people like O-Dog. We see what happened in the beginning of the film when O-Dog commits the robbery. He kills the store clerk as well as his wife. He gets hold of the videotape. He's going all throughout the hood bragging about that. And I know a lot of people probably don't know it, or they didn't know it at first, but O-Dog does go to jail at the end of the movie. There's a sort of flash forwarding scene at the end of the movie of him being put into a police car. Alan Hughes talked about that briefly on an interview with the Breakfast Club, saying that some parts were taken out for certain reasons or whatever the case may have been, but he did reveal that O-Dog went to jail for the armed robbery because Chauncey had got a hold of the tape. He exposed it to the cops, and that's what happened to O-Dog. Menace to Society does not glorify gang lifestyle. It doesn't glorify violence. It just shows you a harsh reality of the upbringing of people or the potential upbringing of some people that live in Watts, Los Angeles. And it shows you just a piece of what they may go through on a daily basis. It's gritty, it's raw, it's real, it's not a fairy tale, it's very dark, especially when you consider the fact that the two main characters, Kane and O-Dog, are 17 and 18 years old. And for them to go through everything that they went through, especially Kane, it truly is a heartbreaking story. But I think that's the biggest difference between Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society, which Boys in the Hood is a sad film as well, but at least in the end of Boys in the Hood, it is revealed that Trey graduates high school, of course, and he attends college at Morehouse, with Brandy attending nearby at Spelman College. With Menace, there is no happy endings. Kane does not make that move to Atlanta. Sharif and Stacy don't make the move to Kansas. And O-Dog, 17 years old, goes to jail for armed robbery. So that's the biggest difference with Menace and Boys in the Hood. Menace shows you what it's like if you don't make it out of the hood, or if you not only become a product of your environment, but you're never able to escape that environment. Boys in the Hood shows you what it could be like from both perspectives. But I don't want to make this a Menace to Society versus Boys in the Hood video. I just wanted to use that as an example. Where would I rank Menace in my all-time films, or my all-time hood films? I would say if I had to make a list of the top 10 hood films of all time, I would definitely have Menace number 2. Some people may have it lower. Some people may have it at number 1. I personally believe that it's the second greatest hood/urban drama coming-of-age film, right behind Boys in the Hood. I know a lot of y'all have seen Menace to Society. Of course, you have classic one-liners like,
"You done fucked up, you know that, don't you?"
So a lot of y'all have seen the movie, but for those of you that have not seen Menace to Society, please give it a look. Again, it does not glorify violence. It does not glorify gang activity. It just shows you a harsh reality and the trials and tribulations of what people go through in the hood. And they just keep it real. They keep it raw, like I said. They keep it gritty. And it shows you what happens when you ultimately don't make it out of the hood. Or it shows what happens when you are making bad choices along your journey and you're also conflicted between two different worlds. What I mean is, as I stated, Kane, I believe, was a great guy deep down inside. I think he was a good kid. I think he had a heart of gold. But when you're around people like O-Dog and AWACS and that whole environment of Watts, Los Angeles at that time period in the early 90s, coming off of the crack era and the gang violence in LA being heated, it's very difficult to not succumb to that environment. And Kane ultimately succumbed to that environment. But that's going to conclude my review of Menace, guys. I really enjoyed this movie. I've watched it so many times. Very heartbreaking. The ending was very difficult to watch. Seeing a young 18-year-old being shot to death. Seeing him gasping for breath. Choking on his own blood. Not being able to move. And the most heartbreaking part about that was Kane going through every mistake that he made in his life, every bad decision that he made, him mentioning all of his regrets. Of course, at the end, we hear him say,
"My grandpa asked me one time if I care whether I live or die. Yeah, I do."
That's very heartbreaking to watch. But again, it's reality. And it's a combination of his decisions, but it's also a combination of the environment that he grew up in and the situations that he was put in and the things that happened to him, some of which he could not control. Give this a thumbs up if you liked the video. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. We have more content on the way. Peace and love to everybody.